Straight ahead, debate on that package of crime bills underway in the House. Highlights from the first day coming up. A group of religious leaders taking their pledge to help in the fight against crime to a new level. We tell you of a meeting with the Attorney General today. It's Christmas in October for petroleum retailers. They got their wish, a margin increase. We have the story. And why are straw vendors being charged to set up shop on Woods Rogers Wharf? We have the surprising answer coming up. It's Wednesday, October 12th. Get ready. The Bahamas Tonight starts right now.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
Good to have you along this evening. I'm Shanique Miller. This is the Bahamas Tonight National Report. Bahamians have cried out for months now, stop granting bail to repeat violent offenders. Well, tonight, we have a pretty good idea of just how many people connected to serious crimes are out on bail. The numbers released during the first day of debate on that package of crime bills today. The number of people on bail for murder and other serious crimes jumped from 39 in 2005 to a whopping 107 in 2006. This compounded by the Privy Council overturning a number of death sentences and a record 104 murders this year alone. These statistics have prompted Bahamians to say they are sick and tired of living in fear. Well, the government is living up to its promise to introduce an aggressive plan to tackle crime head-on. Debate on those crime bills started in the House of Assembly this morning. Ianthea Smith tells us more.
The long-awaited debate on a package of 10 crime bills that government officials hope will put a dent in the rising numbers began in the House of Assembly Wednesday. Among them are amendments to the Penal Code, the Bail Act, the Firearms and Dangerous Drugs Act, and the Sexual Offences Act. Education Minister Desmond Bannister led off debate, saying this is a time for serious reflection and serious debate. Addressing the proposed amendments to the Penal Code, which deals with the controversial death penalty issue and life sentences, the Carmichael MP reminded House members of the Maxo Tito case, where the Privy Council overturned the death sentence.
Honorable members will see that the bill is a bold attempt to permit our courts to comply with the case law as it currently stands, so that those who commit the worst of the worst murders will be subject to the death penalty.
Bannister added that it is the position of the F&M government to enforce the laws on the books, having carried out 5 executions between 1997 and 2000.
We are convinced, Mr. Speaker, that at this time the Bahamian people wish to retain the death penalty in as many cases of murder as possible. Hence, we have sought to embrace as many factual circumstances as possible in making convicted murderers subject to the death penalty.
As noted previously, the bill provides that an adult who is convicted of murder shall be sentenced to life imprisonment or to a term of 30 to 60 years in prison. The next hot-button issue, bail, an issue Bannister says shouldn't be taken lightly. He added that the courts have the liberty of the subject and jealously guard the right to grant bail. He reminded the House that Parliament has the power to restrict the granting of bail, but not to prohibit it entirely.
When a person is charged with kidnapping, murder, armed robbery, treason, or conspiracy to commit any of those offenses, as well as attempted murder, possession of dangerous drugs with intent to supply, rape, sexual intercourse with a person under 14 years, incest, with a sexual intercourse with a dependent, sexual intercourse with a person suffering from mental disorder, or certain other offenses of possession of ammunition or firearms, the court shall not grant them bail.
That is, unless the court is satisfied either that the person has not been tried within a reasonable time or that it is unlikely to happen.
For the purpose of the amendment, Mr. Speaker, a reasonable time is defined as 3 years from the date of the arrest or detention, and any delay which is caused by the accused person is excluded from the calculation. Moreover, sir, the only courts that may grant bail in such circumstances are the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal.
The bill further ensures that magistrates do not have the jurisdiction to grant bail for the most serious offenses, nor may they grant bail where a person has been convicted of certain specified offenses. With the growing culture of guns and drugs in the Bahamas, Minister Bannister noted that amendments to the firearms and dangerous drug bills, which seek to, among other things, increase prison sentences for firearms offenses up to 7 years. Amendments are also being proposed to tackle those involved in the importation, dealing, and purchase of illegal weapons.
The Firearms Act has long contained a presumption that where a revolver is found in a house or premises, the occupier of that house or premises is deemed to be in possession of that revolver. That provision has now been extended to firearms generally, and also will now apply to privately operated vehicles, aircraft, and vessels. That puts the onus on all of us, sir, to be careful who we let into our vehicles and who we permit to reside with us in our homes.
Driving home his point with references to the Marco Archer case, Minister Bannister highlighted proposed changes to the Sexual Offences Act.
Once this bill passes, sir, those who would take advantage of children and rob them of their innocence will, upon conviction, remain in prison until their own miserable lives come to an end.
I am Thea Smith, ZNS News.
Police already have their hands full tackling the violent crime problem here in the country, but now they also have to keep their eyes on the lookout for pesky copper thieves. Parliamentarians also began debate on the Customs Management Amendment Bill today to get a better handle on the vexing issue.
In the Customs Management Amendment Bill, the Controller of Customs is mandated to establish a special investigation unit within the Customs Department to investigate and inspect proposed shipments of scrap metal before such scrap metal may be transshipped between the islands or exported from the Bahamas, where the shipment contains copper, aluminum, brass, or catalytic converters. The unit must conduct a comprehensive chain of custody investigation.
Bannister added that under the bill, the Special Investigation Unit will be the only body with authority to certify that a shipment contains scrap metal which may be transshipped or exported, and they may only do so where the exporter or shipper is an authorized dealer under the Act. Additionally, for shipments containing copper, the unit will not be able to grant permission for a shipment until after 30 days have elapsed since the metals were presented for shipment.
The bill requires anyone who seeks to conduct a pawnbroking business or to trade in second-hand goods to be licensed and to secure their premises with alarm systems, surveillance cameras, and other prescribed safety measures. Such dealers will be prohibited from conducting business with anyone who is under the age of 18 years or who appears to be under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Dealers will also be required to verify the identity of every person with whom they do business, and to ensure that such persons have the authority to sell or to pawn the article in question.
And then there's the seemingly growing cash for gold businesses, which many feel is spawning the crime rate. To curb that trend, debate on the pawnbrokers and second-hand dealers bill also opened, with provisions to protect both the dealer and the general public. Among other things, dealers will be required to maintain the articles in an unadulterated state for a minimum of 14 days until they receive the article from another dealer and provider, customs with receipts. The Senate met briefly yesterday afternoon for a first reading of 3 bills passed in the House of Assembly Monday. Those bills include the Straw Market Authority Bill, modification of provisions for the Gin Development in West Grand Bahama Bill, and the Interpretation and General Clauses Act. Debate on those bills begin tomorrow morning. Religious leaders taking a deeper look at the package of crime bills being debated in the House of Assembly. In fact, they discussed them at length today. It's expected they will play a key role in fighting crime moving forward. Attorney General John Delaney met with the body today at Police Conference Center. Delaney says meeting with the church leaders is in line with his goals of increasing the public education about the justice system.
All is not lost on our young people. The statistics that I have as a Commissioner of Police, that I look at on a daily basis, tells me that people that are murdering people are adults. You heard what I just said? Not school children, not teenagers in school. Do we have some fights? Yeah, we do have some fights. Do we have people that don't speak? Absolutely. I'd be telling you a lie if I said it didn't happen. Do you have some people being rude to parents? Yes. Rude to teachers? Absolutely. Not paying attention to their schoolwork? Absolutely. Failing grades? Absolutely. But I can't make you what you're not. We cannot continue to put that label on you, which is a wrong label. And I still believe that the vast majority of our children, the vast majority, I repeat, of our children are good citizens.
Leading the group was Bahamas Christian Council President Reverend Ranford Patterson.
They ought to pay attention to this nice facility that the police have here and all the high-ranking brass that they're meeting with, and to look at me and to realize that we're holding these positions for them, for when they become adult and they assume the running of our country. And I wanted to ensure that they were not distracted by anything that would cause them to lose their life's purpose.
The crime bills address bail, sentencing of murder offenses, and the revision of the firearm and sexual offenses penalties, among other issues. Shifting gears, all's not well between the BCPOU and management at the new cable and wireless-led BTC. Today, members of the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union buried BTC's counter-proposal for its new industrial agreement, saying it's absolute nonsense. It's a familiar move they've used in the past when they deemed counter-proposals unacceptable. We get this story tonight from Clint Watson.
In the past, they've flushed it, burned it, now they're burying it. Members of the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union demonstrating their strong disapproval of the BTC's counter-proposal to their new industrial agreement by eulogizing the document at its JFK headquarters. Union President Bernard Evans.
We're not pleased at all after waiting for so long. You understand, we already 1 year already elapsed in our contract. The counter-proposal, we thought that we'd see some movement, some daylight. But they've asked for every increase that we've asked for. They've asked to remain the same. For time off, even for union officials, they've asked for reduction in that. So where there's not reduction, it's just freezing everything. So we absolutely not satisfied with the counter proposal.
President Evans says the union, representing just under 1,000 members, remains optimistic that things will change when they sit around the table to negotiate.
It didn't work burning this time. We decided to eulogize it. The members decided it was that stink that we needed to put it under the ground, and so we did a funeral service today and buried it.
What is the next step now from this process?
Well, obviously we're going to hear from them next week. We have finished. They've already got the name of our negotiators, and so we're waiting next week. We're supposed to now start the dates as to when we would meet to begin the process of our negotiations. So we look forward to that.
As to whether he felt the company was unreasonable, Evans responded.
We'll see when we on day one of negotiations. Maybe that's just their style. They will start at the very bottom and then work their way up to the top. We've seen some glimpse of that during the VSEP, as the offer was very low at the beginning and then obviously it grew to what was acceptable. And so maybe this is just a tactic on their part.
Later this afternoon, VTC CEO Jeff Houston released a statement saying he remains optimistic that the company will continue to work with its union partners to shape a way forward that will benefit all stakeholders. He says they have already been able to accomplish much with the union since April. He says while they certainly do not want to negotiate a very important new labor agreement in the press, they understand that the union will not always agree with them and will want to use available channels to get their point across. He says they are not alarmed. The CEO says the company has entered a new era of private ownership and increased competition, so the company must change the way it conducts business in order to survive. He is convinced that together both sides can shape an agreement that will serve the interests of all parties. Clint Watson, ZNS News.